He was hiking through a dense forest in the Swiss Alps when something suddenly stopped him. He tried to take another step. He couldn't. It wasn't any noise or animal. It was something no bigger than his thumb that had grabbed the leg of his trousers so firmly that he couldn't take another step. He looked down and saw a tiny plant. He laughed. At first, it looked completely harmless, just another weed growing beside the path. But when he reached down to pull it away, it refused to let go. He pulled harder. It still clung to the fabric with surprising strength. Now he was confused. How could something so small hold on that tightly? And most people in that moment would have yanked it off without giving it another thought. But he didn't. Instead, he crouched down and looked closer. There was something strangely deliberate about the way it held onto his clothes. It wasn't tangled. It wasn't wrapped around the fabric by accident. It had attached itself with incredible precision, almost as if it had been engineered to do exactly one thing: grab anything that walked past. The closer he looked, the stranger it became. This tiny plant wasn't relying on glue or thorns. It was using a completely different system. And to understand what has stopped him in the middle of a forest, he carefully removed one of the burrs and took it home. Then he placed it under a microscope. What he saw changed the course of his life. Covering the surface were hundreds of microscopic hooks, each perfectly curved to catch tiny loops in fabric or animal fur. It was an elegant mechanical design that nature had spent millions of years refining. It was 1941, and George de Mestral had just returned from a hunting trip in the Swiss Alps. His jacket had been covered in burrs. So had his dog. Every hunter before him had experienced the same thing. They pulled the burrs off, cursed them, and kept walking. Nobody stopped long enough to ask why. George was the first person who stopped long enough to ask a simple question. How is this thing holding on so well? The answer inspired an obsession. And for the next 8 years, he tried to recreate what the plant had already perfected. Again and again, his ideas failed. Textile manufacturers laughed at him. Engineers dismissed the concept. Some thought he had become obsessed with a useless weed. He wasn't trying to invent something new. He was just trying to copy something that already existed. Eventually, one day, he succeeded. His invention became what we know today as Velcro. Today, it holds astronauts' equipment in space. It's used in hospitals, military gear, climbing equipment, children's shoes, aircraft, and countless everyday products around the world. The remarkable part is that the secret was never hidden. It had been hanging from a tiny plant all along, that every person brushed past it for thousands of years. Millions of people felt it. Only one man became curious enough to ask why. And that single question turned one of nature's oldest tricks into one of humanity's most useful inventions.